How you folks all doing tonight? Here, none here with your Mundus Minute on July 22nd, 2022. ESO news, Electric Merchant, and Golden Merchant stuff, all in a few minutes. First up in the news, and just a warning as well, we're going to get a little bit into some changes coming up in the PTS thing. It may take a little bit longer than normal, but hopefully everyone will take a look and post on the forums to understand this more. But first, White Strake's Mayhem PvP event is coming back. It is going to be on July 28th at 10 a.m. Eastern until August 9th at 10 a.m. Eastern, which means next week. During this time frame, you're going to have double rewards inside of Alliance stuff here. You're going to have the Paradox and Mara continuation quest to get your scroll. Make sure to use that scroll to get double Alliance points in that. Also, EXP points are going to be increased. A couple new outfit styles, markings, and armor packs are going to be included with that. New golden boons and event award tickets will be rewarded. 2 event tickets for the first Cyrodiil or Battlegrounds quest that you complete, and 1 event ticket from doing a daily quest in Imperial City. Pretty easy. So, get ready for some PvP mayhem. Now, on to the controversial topic today. Update 35 is now on Pts Servers, and why that is such a big deal is they made changes over to light attacks and into dots, buffs, and other things like that. There is a post on the forum, so let's get out of the way first. There are some changes here that would be good for certain people, bad for other people. Overall, they're trying to cap the ceiling while also raise up the floor. Which, what does that mean? Highest DPS people are going to see a bit of a nerf. Lowest DPS people will make it it'll seem a little bit easier to keep the DPS up. But overall, some of the changes are not popular, and I have to agree that some things need to change. Now, some stuff was posted on the forums today by Gilliam, who is one of the head people behind this, regarding the numbers. So let's first understand. They're coming from a spreadsheet on this. They have the balance on this. I'm not going to get into that extent. I'm not going to get into the whole analysis. If you want something like that, there's plenty of other streamers out there. Outcast, Iffy, J-Dub, plenty of other people have talked about this. I just don't feel that the way it's going about right now is necessarily good. I have positive feelings about some of it, but other things kind of doesn't feel right. And overall, DPS will probably not change, but the problem is, how fun is it? Is it interesting? And is it going to get new players to feel like, oh, I'm doing something great, I'm being strong? Maybe not. It's probably going to turn off some people. That said, they're basically taking a lot of the dots and increasing them by double the time. It's like mostly sticky stuff there, etc. Anything that's a ground AoE, they're going to revert back and they're going to leave as is, because bosses move around. They do a lot of things. It doesn't really help to do any of that. Buff stuff may or may not get increased. My opinion on this, I'll link a post down I put earlier. They need to simply change. They have to change a lot of stuff if they're going to make these changes here. For example, Molten Whip from DK Lines relies on the fact that you're going to have a DPS rotation of ... and then the whip to get the extra bonus with the Molten Whip. With this doubling, that doesn't happen, so it makes like half of it useless. In addition to that, it's more costly to recast now. So if you're somebody who just goes through and blindly hits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then moves on to the next stuff, you're going to be hurt for that, because you cast it like way too early. Also, this also doesn't really address kind of the whole light attack thing. They reduced the light attack damage, which I understand. It was doing way too much damage and it was causing a high spike in the ceiling. But it's still not addressing it for new players and explaining to new players the biggest issue, which is Kinras, Relicans, Togvids, several others that just work off light attacks. If you stop light attacking, all your stacks for those sets drop. So what do we do for those? We're not doing anything to address that. We're lowering the damage on those, but on the light attacks, but we're not really changing those sets up. And it still requires that you do an attack every 5 seconds. It's still not enough. In the post I'll link below here, my ideas on this: one, make it so you can double stack your debuffs and your dots. Why does that matter? Well, if you're a little early on casting your claws or your flame breath on an enemy and you still have 2 seconds left on the timer, just add to the duration. Add another 10 seconds to the clock. Doesn't hurt. It still hurts you if you keep on spamming those abilities. You're not going to get infinite duration on it, but just make it so you can stack it twice. That makes it a lot easier for people who are just not good on the rotation to stack another one on there, and hopefully you're not going to be doing it. Not as efficient necessarily, but still, those who are a little bit off aren't really penalized for doing it too early. In addition to that, doubling the doubling the buff counters and keeping the dot and debuff timers low. Well, that should at least be a little bit softer. People have issues on keeping your major berserk, your major savagery, all those other abilities up. Just double those up and then leave the dots and debuffs alone for right now until we get a better system in place, if we're going to be looking to change those later on. Now, for the light attacks, I've heard a lot of stuff back and forth. The ideas I like so far: slowly losing stacks in Kinra's, Reliquins, and other sets instead of dropping it all at once if you miss one light attack every 5 seconds will be a big help to a lot of lower skill people. I have to give credit over to Iffy, who introduced me to that idea. In addition to that, I'd also look at giving an option for light attack and ability queues priorities in settings. A lot of people don't understand the current system in the fact that if you use an attack and you use an ability in the same time, abilities will take priority. And what happens is typically people will spam abilities and lose light attacks between abilities because they're just spamming both of them and not realizing that every time you hit that ability, any light attack you had queued is just gone. So what happens is people just keep on spamming abilities. You never get the light attack in the middle, and you're losing DPS. That's a big DPS for loss for a lot of people there. There are add-ons to help with it, but those add-ons, they're add-ons. They're not part of the base game. It doesn't help anybody on console, and people on PC need to know to install those. And if they know to install those, maybe they already know how to deal with it. So it doesn't help new players. So give the option inside the game might help a bit more. In addition to that, adjust the tolerances for that ability light attack inputs. So maybe it's a little bit less aggressive on canceling those light attacks might help as well. And also, finally, giving double stacks to Kinra's Reliquins if you have to do a heavy attack. For those folks who would like to do heavy attack builds, it's not going to be optimal, but it might help some of those people. Anyway, those are just some of my ideas. I'll leave a link down below for it. That's my TED Talk. Let's take a look at the Luxury Merchant and the Golden Merchant for this week, shall we? And also, on this as well, this is a little weird. So, keep in mind, Necromancer Spire, Alcove, and Narrow. You notice this is the Alcove, but the icon shows the Narrow. This is the Spire, but it shows the Alcove. Keep in mind, don't get confused with that. Don't buy the wrong thing too many times. But anyways, this is more Necromancer stuff. Mausoleum bookcase, pillars, Necromancer braziers. There's 2 spires there, a pedestal, and a wheelbarrow. Then on the Golden Merchant for this week, for under 50k, Necklace of the Ranger, which gives 5-piece bonus, gives effective snares, reduces the effectiveness of snares applied to you by 50%. I'd probably skip this one. Honestly, I wish they would change some of these buffs up. Like if it's the effectiveness of dots and debuffs on you by 50% or even 25%, That'd be amazing. That actually might be a tank set right there. But just snares, not the greatest. Then Amulet of Eternal Vigor. On its 5-piece bonus, adds 337 stamina and magical recovery while your health is above 50%, adds 111 health recovery while your health is 50% or below. Not the greatest set in my opinion, but if you really wanted to grab it and say put it with Ogrim Scales or something like that, you could probably use it inside PvP to make like a really trollish heal recovery build. Then for 250k, Orion's Necklace, 5-piece bonus, dealing direct damage to a target within 10 meters of you summons a cone of lightning from your chest for 5 seconds, deals 2,268 shock damage every 1 second to enemies in that cone. Vigor once every 10 seconds scales off your higher weapon or spell damage. Not a great set in my opinion. Effect might look cool if you want to look like Iron Man or something, but yeah, probably skip this one. Then, also for 250k, Necklace of the Viper, 5-piece bonus. When you deal damage with your martial abilities, you deal an additional 500 or 5,700 poison damage over 4 seconds. The effect can occur once every 4 seconds and scales off your weapon or spell damage. Issuing set, if you really want it for like a low B PvP set, maybe you could get it, but gold version on this, probably just go to Fungal Grotto and grind it up. For 100k, Balrog's Mask is up. If you're a PvPer or even some PvE builds, a lot of people use this. I do recommend picking it up if you do not have ESO Plus, or you just don't want to run the dungeon. And then Shadowrun's Visage. This comes out of Banished Cells 1. Pretty easy dungeon to run. I would just run the dungeon instead of bothering with the Golden Merchant. Anyway, I'm Hero of None. That's the Mundus Minute. I'll see you on Tamriel.